up and take the kids to school.
Oh.
Hey dudes, I am stoked that you're here with me tonight, Rich, as I hide from my wife in the upstairs bedroom of my house. You know why, bros? Because tonight is beer night. That's right. Thank you so much for joining me on episode number 3 of my show, the most real, raw, unfiltered show that there is about beer. Tonight, dudes, we're going to the west coast of the United States, to California, where they make some real hoppy IPAs at the Stone Brewery. But before we do that, let's congratulate and honor the trivia winners from last week's episode. So if you remember, the trivia question from last week was, who's in the first picture of all the Russian leaders at the beginning of the video? And the answer was Ivan Grozny, Ivan the Terrible. So shout out to Mugik. Mugik, you were the first one to answer it correctly on YouTube, and you answered it in Russian letters. So let me know if you were watching from Russia. That's pretty cool if you were. And then I posted the video to Facebook, which I'll be doing in the future, so you guys can like my page. And Jason H. was the first one to answer the question correctly on Facebook, and Jason was watching us all the way from New Zealand. That's awesome, Jason. I used to live in New Zealand, in Christchurch. It's an awesome country. Go All Blacks. Kiwi bird, I think, is my favorite animal. And sweet as. I never figured out what that meant, but everyone said sweet as. Before we open this thing and talk about it, a couple comments from last week's episode. Alex said, "You are improving week to week, but I cannot say the same for your beer choice, comrade." Alex, you better be careful insulting Baltica on a video like that, especially in comments, because I'm going to tell the Russian government and you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Frank said, "Hilarious, Rich. Think a case a day would make me successful?" Well, yes, Frank. Baltica's website says that the more you drink, the more you will achieve. So I recommend you start drinking a case a day like you suggested. You're going to go far. All right, tonight's beer, Stone IPA. Stone is the brewery, and IPA is the kind of beer. This is pretty high in alcohol compared to run-of-the-mill beers. 6.9% ABV from Escondido, California. And the very high on the bitterness scale, 77 IBUs is very high, so I'm expecting this to be bitter. All right, quick note about the Stone Brewery. If you haven't heard of it, it's kind of new in the history of American breweries. 1996, it's the year I graduated high school, actually. So in 20 years from when they started, they've become very, very important. They're now the 15th largest brewery in the United States, and they're very, very prestigious in the craft beer movement. They started out with a pale ale. Now they mostly make IPAs, different kinds of IPAs. This is their most common, popular one. It's consistently ranked 100 out of 100 by beer snobs. The brewery is loved by beer snobs. So they have got some street cred, just so you know what we're looking at here. And just a few months ago, they announced they're opening a brewery and a tap room right in the heart of Napa Valley, where all the wineries are. And you know, I've always heard people, oh, we're going to Napa. I never had any interest because I don't like wine. But now, I think it's so cool. I feel like the beer soldiers have marched right into someone else's territory and put up their beer flag, put up their middle finger, and said, hey, we're making beer here. And it's a good move because now all the wives that want to drink wine, their husbands have a reason to go, and their wives can go to the winery, they can go drink beer at the brewery. It's a good move. Okay, an IPA, really cool history. Really cool history. It stands for India Pale Ale, and it's not made in India. So let's go back 200 years to the early 1800s in England. There was a trade imbalance between England and India because the English were busy exploiting the Indians for everything they were worth. So all these goods are moving from India to England. So it was very cheap to export things from England to India. So a brewer had the idea, let's start sending some better beer down to India, to the British colonial soldiers down there. And they had to make it a little bit stronger. They had to formulate it differently. But they did. They exported pale ale to India. called it India Pale Ale. The soldiers loved it, but it was not for domestic consumption in England. It was many, many decades till they started selling it in England, but once they did, it exploded in popularity. The people in England loved it. And for over 100 years, it was a very, very popular beer in England. And then something interesting happened. It slowly died out. And at the end of the 20th century, IPA was gone. Lucky for us, some craft brewers in America, not just Stone, but some other ones, resurrected this old beer style here in America, and it blew up again in popularity. And now IPAs are one of the most popular craft beers styles that there are. So let's go ahead and open this thing. Enough yapping away over here. So some of the things that we're going to be looking for when we smell and taste this are citrus, pine, and resin. Why? This is a West Coast IPA, meaning it's made with hop varieties grown on the West Coast. I think the Chinook, Centennial, and Magnum hops. And they're known for having a citrusy, piney, resiny flavor to it. Other things people say they smell and taste in this beer: floral notes, fruit notes, grapefruit, melon, grassiness. Obviously, we're thinking it's going to be bitter and dry. So I like how Stone puts a bottled on date. This was bottled in May and enjoyed by August 16th. So I like that. Their logo is very recognizable. It's this creepy looking gargoyle. I've never liked it. Sorry, Stone. And I'm not judging your beer by its cover, by its bottle, but I never was a fan of that. But let's go ahead. Let's look at this very beautiful golden color here. It's foaming up with a nice head here. Very nice. All right, let's go ahead and give this, let's give it a flashlight. How's that look? That looks pretty good. A lot of nice little bubbles coming up here. All right, let's see what we can smell. Smells great. Definitely getting some citrus. Definitely like a piney and a resinous. Kind of like I'm in a alpine forest. Very good. Smelling some floral notes. Definitely grapefruitiness. And that's kind of about all I can smell right now. Let's go ahead and give it a taste. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, it's bitter, but it's not bitter in a bad way. The bitterness is balanced out by all these beautiful flavors just swirling around your mouth. The floral, the grapefruit. I really smell the grapefruit. I don't really smell any grassiness. Could be a little bit of grassiness. Very refreshing. It's light. It's not heavy. It's not highly carbonated. It's good. It's good. I can see why people would want to keep drinking this over and over and over, all the craft beer nerds. There's a lot going on in your mouth, all the different flavors in your mouth. The aftertaste is a little bit bitter, but again, it's not a bad bitter. It actually makes you just want to drink more to kind of wash that back and keep going. I really like this one a lot more than last week's beer. It's a confident beer. I like to put human emotions on my beers. This beer is confident. It knows what it's doing with this stuff. And it's not overly confident, like a Donald Trumpiness overconfidence. It's just like a confident woman. And I know it's weird calling a beer a woman, but it's, people are attracted to a confident woman. I think if this was a woman, a lot of people would be attracted to her. I'm attracted to confident women. In fact, I'm attracted to women that are so confident that they like my wife. Like, she likes to yell at me. She's so confident. And I like that. Kind of sick, I know. So, all right, I'm going to rank this thing. My inexperienced palate, I'm not a beer expert, so I'm not comfortable giving it 100 out of 100. I really, really like it. It's definitely going to be in the 90s. I'm giving this a 93 out of 100. By the way, stuff I smelled: citrus, pine, resin, grapefruit, bitter, dry finish. But good. Definitely very, very good. All right, let's do the trivia question for this week. It's an IPA history question. Who was the first London brewer to export beer, to export pale ale to India? Who was the first London brewer to export pale ale to India? Be the first one to answer the question on Facebook or YouTube, and your name's going to be up here on next week's episode. Next week's beer. Next week, dudes, we're going to the end of the world, to Canada. Next week's episode is à la bout, la Fin Du Monde, a nice Belgian-style tripel beer from that little country above us called Canada. You know, no one ever gives Canada enough love. I feel like Canada needs some attention up there. I mean, I bet if you did one of those street walking and you asked people trivia questions about Canada, they wouldn't even know what the names of the states are up there. I mean, what do we have up there? There's like Saskatchewan and the Ottoman Empire and like the Yeti territory. So Canada needs some attention. So this should be a good one. Thank you so much for watching episode 3 of my show about Stone IPA. I appreciate you and your time. If you like the show, subscribe, leave some comments. And remember, no matter where in the world you are, even if you're at the DNC right now with Hillary Clinton, if you like beer, you'll always have a friend right here in Plano, Texas. Give me these things. All right, dudes, enjoy your beer and good night.
Have a good day.